So I shared that funny one from my first area from Huigapa, and I just remember, uh, what was the phrase they said there? Donde las piedras son de leche, los ríos son de leche y las piedras de cuajada. Cuajada was like a type of cheese that they have there, and Rio, rivers of milk, because it was like the dairy capital of Nicaragua. So I went from a really up and down, hilly area, and then my second area was flat, was right by the ocean, and it was right by the huge volcano of San Cristobal, which I think might be the biggest in Central America, at least the biggest in Nicaragua. So it was a really exotic location. I mean, Huigapa looked like Jurassic Park, and then Chichigapa was palm trees and a volcano, and it was two amazing areas right off the bat. But I remember they had switched me to become a senior companion right after my first area, and it wasn't like I wanted to be, but I was like, oh, this is different. And so they had some emergency transfers or something in my second area. So I was put with a companion who I really grew to love. His name was actually Alder Amado, which means the beloved companion, but that was his name. And we were both really new. We both had just 2 transfers in the mission, and then we're put together in this brand new area. And he had just been there 3 weeks before I had because of these emergency transfers. And so we had like very little teaching pool, very little food appointments. Everything was kind of starting off from scratch. And we really relied on the Spirit. I remember these 2 new missionaries are enthusiastic, but sometimes that works wonders. We're like, okay, let's just listen to wherever the Spirit takes us. And we had incredible success finding people on different sides of the town that happened to be like sisters or related. And it was a really neat network of our investigators that happened to know each other, that were all had been prepared. And it was an amazing experience. And sometimes just really relying on that, starting from scratch. I remember that was such an exciting part. And I remember an amazing branch family, the Quintanillas and Chichigalpa, also really helped us out. But I remember one time we were walking by and we saw this lady in a window and we said hi, and she like really enthusiastically said hi back, and we both felt something, and we're like, did you feel that? Yeah, did you? Should we go back? What do you think? And we're like, let's go back. So I mean, it's kind of awkward to walk past, already have said hi, and go back, but we're like, we gotta listen, we're gonna go back. And ended up being, she's like, hey, we told her who we were, and we sat down, really friendly person. Her name was Maria Felix, and she became one of our best investigators, and she lived way out in the farms, away from the village. And I remember right before we got to her, I feel like I may have said this already, but there were like dogs that would be barking, and we had to go through like this maze almost to get to her house. And the final little obstacle was her neighbors that had these barking dogs. And if we got through them, we knew we were in the gold, and we were able to teach a wonderful lesson. But she started bringing nieces and nephews and other people, and her and her husband and her daughter got baptized, and which is great. So I just remember that always stuck out to me. Like, when you feel something, you have to go with it. And I remember my other area, which was in that other up corner as well, Leon, feeling a distinct impression to go on a certain street. And we started knocking doors, and we found someone that was amazing. Another man named Wilbert. I always thought it was strange. There were these English sounding names that were so common down there, like Wilbur. But he was also named Wilbur, and a great guy. And his wife Mara, I think he became part of the bishopric eventually, and she was the young women's president. But I remember feeling it so strongly that we had to knock on that street, and those were some of the people that I felt so happy to eventually help them know about the church. And sometimes, people get baptized while you're there. And there was one of my areas, my third area after Chichigalpa, where I just planted so many seeds. But that one, there was a little bit more of divisive issues going on. And I remember it took a companionship that followed us to really reap the harvest. And they had like 25 baptismal dates and everything, and all these people, but we planted so many seeds. And I remember there was some really hard moments in that area, but there was also eventually a lot of success. So sometimes you're going to harvest, right away, but sometimes you're going to be planting the seeds. And you should always be trying to harvest, but not lose sight that you're also doing a lot of good by sharing your testimony, preparing the hearts of the people. And so you're going to probably get both in Nicaragua. But I feel like never lose focus on helping them get really converted and to be spiritually self-sufficient, because Nicaragua is one of those places it's so easy for missionaries to just want to baptize like crazy and then don't really prepare the people as well. And there's a lot of less actives. I loved working with less actives, and I found a lot of baptisms and new converts out of reactivation. It's one of my favorite things to do. I really just strengthen Zion wherever you were placed. But I remember that happened in Masaya. I didn't have as many baptisms. That was the longest in that area. In Las Flores, Masaya. And let's see, I remember these two kids that I felt impressed, Perla and Jefferson, and they became really strong members after I left, but we taught them, and it was just listening to the Spirit, and it was amazing to see how the Spirit knew everything already. Dukwali was my fourth area, and also just had such a unique culture there. The people of the branch would get together and have class just to learn more about the gospel, and it's just so neat. And so we really using the members there. Trying to think of other areas. Diriomo. So Reparto Chico was the dangerous one. Then my sixth area, Diriomo, was up in these beautiful hills, kind of mountainous area, and by the Mombacho volcano. And I remember taking investigators, and we did fun things like with them. Sometimes on our preparation day, we took a hike up the volcano, and I remember thinking how cool, because it was always covered in clouds at the very top, and I remember thinking how cool it would be if, like, we would hike up the volcano and like a storm would come down, we'd be like in the middle of all the clouds. I always wanted it, like, the clouds to come down so you like hike through the clouds. I just always thought that would be so cool for some reason. And so it was kind of like a partly cloudy day. I'm like, there was clouds at the top. I'm like, we're gonna hike it, maybe a big storm will come, we won't get like hurt or anything, but it'd be really exciting. And it was funny, like as we started getting ready and everything to go, these big clouds just started forming, and we're hiking up, and then this massive, I call it like a mini hurricane, just crazy. I have pictures where like sheets of white just started falling down, and exactly what I thought would happen happened. It was really exciting. No one got hurt, but we had to hold on to each other because the trail became like a river, and we have pictures of us kind of walking through the fields and the orchards at the base of the volcano. Like we were just like in this epic like war film or hurricane film, and it was fun. Like I thought the storms were exciting and everything, and it was one of my favorite parts of the mission. But yeah, like doing stuff with the investigators whenever you could. I remember in Leon, with me and my companion, we'd go jogging in the morning with our ward mission leader or with the investigator. We had the mini MTC activities. We'd have a family home evening with them, and just so many experiences, so many good ones of just getting involved and becoming friends. I remember, another huge thing in Nicaragua is saying chocho. That's the one thing that I still say from Nicaragua. Like when I went, I went on a study abroad to India, and I still do the head shake. But from Nicaragua, that's the one thing that still stuck with me was the chocho. Just like they say que salvaje que tuanis for cool, chocho is like what you say when you're like, oh man, like you're surprised, you say chocho. And so there was one investigator that would say that all the time. It just got us on a roll, and we'd start laughing. But just kind of embracing the culture, and those some of the best experiences I had, and laughing with the members, and just being creative and thinking outside of the box, and learning how to guide the lesson according to what they needed. I remember Ana Francis, my friend from Jinotepe, my 7th area, who was the chocho girl. I would always say chocho. We still joke about it. She had a lot of reservations, but we talked and talked and really helped her feel that we were understanding her feelings, and she did eventually get baptized, and a lot of her family did too.